Well, thank you for the time. Okay, thank you for the time, Cynthia. It's a very wonderful day to greet good evening to you. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our lecturer, Ms. Devi Yulianti. Well, it's a great pleasure for me to deliver this presentation as a model. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. Sorry. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nimade Devi Pranyaswari. You can call me Feby. Student ID 212. Well, the presentation today is about the age of Pope. So the group age consists of three people. The first one is Cynthia Karismawati, student ID 183 as the first speaker. Second, Igusti Ngurah Bindu Prananda, student ID 211 as a third speaker. And the last one is Yohanes Edison Inomite as the second speaker. Well, for presentation today, we decided into 6 sessions. The first one is the introduction of the age of Pope. Second, the characteristic. Third, 10 centuries. Fifth, period of Pope. And the last one is work of Pope. So let's begin the presentation today to explain the introduction of age of Pope. Well, Cynthia, as the first speaker, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time, moderator. Now I want to next the presentation, the age of Pope. The early part of the 18th century of the Augustan age in English literature is called the age of Pope. Why? Because Pope was the dominating figure in that period. So there were a number of other important writers like Edison and Swift, but Pope was the only one who devoted himself completely to literature. Moreover, he represented in himself all the main characteristics of his age, and his poetry served as a model to others. The second characteristic literary of Pope. The political and social change exhibiting the supremacy of good sense, rationality, sanity, and balanced life, an impressible mark on the literature of the age of Pope and Dr. Johnson. The literature of the period were the hallmark of intelligence, of wit, and of fancy, not a literature of emotions, patience, or creative energy. The main literary characteristics of the age are: the first, age of prose and reason. It is an age of prose, reason, good sense, and not poetry. A large number of practical interesting arising from the new social and political condition demanded expression not simply in books, but in pamphlets, magazine, and newspaper. Number two, age of satire. The predominance of satire is an important literary characteristic of the age. Nearly every writer of the first half of the 18th century was used and rewarded by Whigs or Tories for satirizing their enemies and for advancing their special political interests. The third, age of neoclassicism. The age of Pope and Johnson is often called the neoclassic age. We should clearly understand the meaning of the word classic. The term classic refers to writers of highest rank in any nation. The fourth, age of good sense. Good sense is one of the central characteristics of the literature of this period. In the words of W.H. Hudson's, good sense became the ideal of the time, and good sense meant our love of the reasonable and the useful, and a hatred of the mythical, the extravagant, and the visionary. Number 5, follow nature. Another important characteristic of the age was the belief that literature must follow nature. Number 6, town and city life as a theme of literature. Another feature of the literature of the age is that it has a limited theme. It is a literature of the town and the fashionable upper circles of the city of London. Number 7, the heroic couplet and the poetic direction tools of writers. The use of heroic couplet was predominant during this period. The heroic couplet was recognized as the only medium for poetic expression. In it, the poets put all the skills and worked with an unimaginable correctness and precision. The language of poetry became gaudy and innate. The common words of ordinary language were deliberately kept out from poetic literature. The result was that literature of the Augustan age became artificial, rational, and intellectual. The next of material will be presented with my friends. Time is yours.
Okay, I will continue the presentation. Alexander Pope. Born in London to Alexander Pope, Senior, Elinan Merchant, and Edith Pope, nee Turner, who were both Catholics. Education was affected by the penal law taught to Reedy by his aunt, then went to Twyford School in about 1698 until 9. He then went to two Catholic schools in London. The age of 12, he never grew beyond 1.37 meters, 4 feet, 6 inches tall. His life has classified into 3 periods. Next. The 18th century. The glorious revolution of 1688 firmly established a Protestant monarchy together with effective rule by parliament. The new saints of the time, Newtonian Sikhism, reinforced the belief that everything, including human conduct, is guided by rational order. Moderation and common sense become intellectual values as well as standards of behavior. The 18th century was the age of town life with its coffee houses and clubs. One of the most famous of the latter was the Scribblers Club, whose members include Pope, Swift, and John Gay. Its purpose was to defend and uphold high literary standards against the rising tide of middle-class values and tastes. Okay, the presentation will be delivered by Windu.
All right, I will continue the presentation. And the fifth point is about period of hope. Next, Cynthia. So the first period is the first for pastorals, a short poems on spring, autumn, and winter, closely fashioned and on Virgil. The second one is Windsor Forest, inspired by Denham's Copper's Hill, Real Beauties of Nature. And the third one is the Essays of Criticism, published at the age of 21, and inspired by Horace Ars Poetica and Boileau's L'Ars Poetique. The fourth one is Pope's landscape is copied out of the Greek and Latin poets rather than painted from first-hand knowledge of what he processed to describe. And then the of the lock masterpiece. And the last one is Lord Petre cut a lock of hair from the head of a young beauty named Arabella Fermor, the Bellina of the poem. This joke led to a quarrel between the two families and Pope applied to by a common friend, John Caryll, to throw oil on troubled waters by turning the whole thing into jest. Next. The next one is the second period. The first one is the translation of the Iliad and the Odyssey. The second one is the real discrepancy lay in it is neither Pope nor his aide could understand the spirit of Homer or the Homeric world. And the third one is Pope has written for his readers very striking and brilliant piece. The third period is the first one, satires and epistles of Homeric and Odyssey imitate. The second one is the prologue, the epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot, and the third one is the Danciad, along and Hammer or the Homeric word elaborate satire on the dances, the bad poets, pedants, and pretentious critics of the day. The fourth one is the essays on man, a poem in 4 epistles. And the last one is defense of the moral government of the universe and an explanation of the physical and moral evil. Next. The sixth point is about works of Pope. The first one is to Lord Betters. The second one is on the use of the races. The third one is of the knowledge and character of man. The fourth one is of the characters of women. And the last one is the Messiah. So I think that's all about the presentation today. So for the times, I will give back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the time window. Well, now it's time to invite your participation. For the all participation, if you have another question for the presenter, don't be excited to comment below. So I think that's all for the presentation from Group 8. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and thank you very much for Group 8 for the excellent presentation, and have a nice day. Thank you.